My dear friends, in this program on effective curriculum implementation, there are two things which are the most important. Number one is your instructional strategies. When it comes to implementation, especially when we talk about the teachers, what strategies you use when you impart instruction so that the learning is maximum. You can maximize the learning. And the second most important thing is the student evaluation. All teaching learning process, whatever we may say, revolve around student evaluation. If you ask any student at any given time, why are you studying this topic? Why are you studying this subject? He will say or she will say, I have to clear the exam. I have to score high. So the biggest motivation for the student for studies is their grading. I mean, their evaluation system. They have to appear for the test. That's why they study hard. Even, if today I ask in this class that at the end of this class, I am going to take a test of whatever I'm going to teach here, your attention and your objectivity, your attitude towards learning will be different. You will be paying more attention. Some of you may be paying more attention. So the student evaluation plays a very big important role, and it has different purposes. In this session, my dear friends, besides the various aspects of student evaluation, I am going to talk to you another very important aspect of effective curriculum implementation, that is instructional strategies. Up to now, we have not covered the very basic elements of total teaching learning process. I will take maybe next 15-20 minutes to cover those things. Let me start with what is education. I would like to open the house for discussion. I will request Dr. T. Kanimozi to kindly invite the participants and give me your view on what do you understand by the word education. Yes? There may be, I'm not expecting a very fixed definition. There may be, when you put the word, the question, what is education in the Google, you may get more than 20,000 entries. What is your concept? I want to have input from one or two participants sitting over here.
So, good morning, sir. Education is a clearance of ignorance among the student or among the
Just hold on,
people.
ma'am. We are not able to listen to you. We are trying to make some correction over here. Just hold on, ma'am. Try. Ma'am, try again now.
Yes, sir. So, education is a clearance of ignorance among the students.
Excuse me, ma'am. We are not able to listen. There's some problem with the speakers here.
Education is a education is a clearance of ignorance among the student.
Okay. And somebody else will like to say? Yes, very good. Somebody else like to say something. What do you understand the word education? We are all in the business of education and training of the students here. What is your concept of education? Some other participant, ma'am? And I will request to kindly occupy the front seats. People in the last row may come and occupy the first row, please.
Sir,
Whoever is in the last two rows, please come in the front rows. Thank you so much. It looks very bad to me that the front rows are vacant. And we can now see everybody also very clearly from here. Yes. There are still more seats available. The lady in the green sari on the left hand side can come and in the front. Ma'am, आपकी बैक साइड पे बिल्कुल immediately आपकी बैक पे. Please occupy these 2 seats also. Yeah. And on your right also, there is one ma'am. She can come in the front. Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay,
Thank you.
let us go ahead with our discussions on what do you understand the word. I am not. We are not trying to make any gradation or judgment here. We are just trying to have a discussion to make the things more easy. Yes.
Education, in my point of view, is facilitating learning and acquiring some skills through learning process.
All right. Very good. Somebody else?
Education means giving and taking knowledge. It must be in both manner as in terms of both practical and in a normal teaching process.
I will request the participant to keep the mic little away from your mouth. When you speak in the microphone anytime, always keep it at the level of chin. आपकी जो chin है, just hold it little below further. Yeah, this is the right position. Okay.
Okay, sir. It's a process of learning in both way. It must be in both manner. Give and take policy always. But it is mean be both in practical and in class manners also, sir.
All right. Thank you so much for your inputs. Time is not permitting me to go for further discussion. Let me share what I understand by the word education is, as very closely mentioned by the man here. Education is really the process of removing the ignorance that is covering our inner knowledge. Excuse me. Please focus on this. Education is really the process of removing the ignorance that is covering our inner knowledge, which is absolute, perfect, eternal, and supreme. I couldn't have found a better definition than this one. According to this definition, it says that the students, whosoever is the people, I mean the students, the learner, he already possess all the knowledge and skills, but it is dormant. We have our role as a facilitator, as the faculty members, is just to remove that ignorance that he knows, he can do. We cannot make anybody fly. The art of flying in the air is already there in the birds. One day they have to understand and use and exercise that power to fly. Similarly, each one of us has certain skills and knowledge and attitudes. They are dormant in us. And as a facilitator, we just ignite ignite the interest in the student, and we just try to facilitate to know that they already know they can do these things. Covering the inner knowledge, which is absolute, perfect, eternal, and supreme. Let me share with you a very important line here. I always say that every seed has a potential to become a tree. There is a tree in every seed. Do you agree with me? Yes or no? There is a tree in every seed. Do you agree with me? Ma'am, I want your response on this. Do you agree with me? Are you able to listen to me?
Hello? Hello?
Are you
Sir?
able to listen to us, sir, here?
Yes, sir, we agree with you, sir.
Okay. I want your responses in this session. I like to go in the session after having your responses in between us. Okay. Friends, I said that there is a potential of becoming a tree in every seed. Every seed has a tree in itself. What is required is right kind of nurturing. You have to give a right kind of temperature, moisture, soil conditions, and everything which is required. And then the tree can bloom. If you do not provide, the seed will remain seed only. Similarly, each and every student in the classroom already have every knowledge and skill. We have to facilitate so that he can exercise that knowledge and skills in his life. Going ahead with this, I will now like to know from you, what is the purpose of education? Yes? In my class, we will not be silent. You will be equally participating. Yesterday, we talked about conversational is a conversational way of engaging the classes, effective communication. So I would like to have a conversation with all of you. What is the purpose of education? Maybe one of you can say.
To make them a knowledgeable person and taking a resource of something new from anyone, and it takes to us into another level, and we can gain something which may be unknown for us. So I think these are the purpose of education.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. I once again request, kindly hold the mic at this position. You don't have to hold it like this or like this. Hold it like this. Then it always, whenever you are addressing in any public address system, any PS system, hold the mic at this level. It is always good because your breath can go, straight, and your sound waves can be caught. The microphone has the power to catch your sound waves. Anyway, coming to the purpose of education, kindly read this one. Excuse me. Kindly read this one. The purpose of education is to bring about a desirable change in the behavior of the learner. Simple definition of 2 lines. Purpose of education is to bring about desirable change in behavior of the learner. And how it is brought about? It is brought about by using teaching strategies, methods, and tactics. We will talk about these 3 things: teaching strategies, methods, and tactics to achieve the instructional objectives. Instructional objective is to bring about desirable change in the behavior of the learner. Teachers used these terms to describe various aspects of what the teachers will be doing during the teaching learning process, and what the student will be doing during the teaching learning process. So my dear friends, when I say change in the behavior of the learner, which will be governed by how a person behaves, it depends on the knowledge the person has, his skills, and his attitudes. These are the 3 things which is essential. Everyone has certain knowledge. When the student come to you in the first year, they have certain amount of knowledge up to +2 level. They also have certain skills with them. They also have certain attitudes with them. Now, based on those skills, attitudes, and knowledge, they behave in a way. They are not able to do everything because their knowledge is limited. They are not able to do everything because their skills are limited. They are behaving in a different way because of their attitudes. Now, during these 4 years, you are enhancing their knowledge. You are enhancing their skills. You are you're modifying their attitudes so that they behave in the industry and in the society in a desirable way, which is required by the industry and by the society. Do you agree with me on this?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
We agree.
Yeah. Okay. So the purpose of education is to impart, to enhance the knowledge, skills, and attitudes of the student, so that we expect a desirable behavior when they work in the industry. Because based on the knowledge, they will be able to say, okay, now we can design this, we can do this thing, we can do this thing. I can do this thing. Based on the skills which we have provided, I can do the testing of so and so. I can do quality testing of so and so. So their behavior is entirely different. And then the attitudes. My dear, attitudes can be changed largely. There are many ways, but I would like to say the golden rule for changing the attitude is each one of us have to play a role model. If I behave in a way in the classroom, my students are going to copy. Their attitudes will be based on what I do in the classroom. What the parents, the environment, the parents, the teachers, the students, their friends, and the general society. the media. I mean the television or other electronic media. The attitudes are formulated or modified to a large extent from the environment. And as teachers, our important role is to be the role models. What attitudes I want to develop in the students, I have to display that in my own attitudes. If I want my student to be disciplined, I have to be disciplined in my classroom. If I want my student to be honest, I have to be honest in my classroom. If I have to be punctual, my student will be punctual, I have to be punctual in my class. I mean, things like that. Okay. Now, I would like to go to another dimension. What is teaching? We are all in the business of teaching and learning. What is teaching? Yes. Somebody? What is teaching?
Teaching is to educate the students.
Okay. I want somebody else to give the inputs on this, ma'am.
Oh,
I like to listen to everybody in the class today.
okay, sir.
Not that I don't want to listen to you, but I want to give chance to everyone to say something on this. It's a very simple thing. We are all, be very casual in your replies. I mean, don't get any tension in this.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
A teacher is a person who provides education for students.
Okay. My question is, what is teaching?
It's an art of transferring hectic knowledge to dynamic knowledge.
A gentle reminder to all of you to hold the mic little below the chin level.
So teaching is a art of transferring hectic knowledge into dynamic knowledge to the learners.
Okay. Generally, people have this concept, but understand very well what is teaching. I'm going to share with you a definition of teaching. Teaching means teaching is a combination of teacher and student activities. Mostly people feel that teaching is a role of teachers only. No, teacher is a activity performed by both teachers and students. It's a combination of teacher and student activities supported by best available resources. Whatever the resources are, maybe laboratory, maybe blackboard, maybe, I'm using, for example, now the whole ICT system. These are the resources required. I have a whole technical team of ETB department to support me. I'm using the PowerPoint. Whatever the whole, in the laboratories, normally we have the equipment and material. In the workshop, we have another equipment. So the teaching is a combination of teaching and student activities supported by the best available resources to produce an atmosphere where learning can take place. We have to focus on only one thing, that the learning must take place. The whole resources, whatever resources available to you, and your aim is that the learning of what? Knowledge, skills, and attitudes. His knowledge, his skills, and attitudes, which will be governing his behavior in the way we desire him to behave. All right? Are you with me? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, no.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, if the purpose of teaching is, the aim of the teaching is, in the previous definition we said, the learning should take place. So now my question is, what is learning then? I want somebody to answer the question. Has not spoken up to now in the class.
Learning is acquiring the knowledge through by the process of teaching.
Okay. Somebody else? The person sitting just at your back. Yes. Okay. Okay.
To understand what is taught, that is learning. To experience knowledge.
Experience knowledge. Okay. Somebody else?
Learning is getting a new things which you need to improve their knowledge.
My dear friends, why I am, you must be thinking why Professor Saab is talking about the basic things. We are all know what education is, what the purpose of education is, what is teaching, what is learning. but you just try to appreciate what I'm saying. Try to imbibe these concepts in your mind. This will go a long way in effective curriculum implementation. We have different concepts of teaching. I said is a student and teacher activities. To facilitate the learning has to take place. Okay. Now, what is learning? Read this definition very carefully. Learning is a process of acquiring and integrating through a systematized process of instruction or organized experience, varying forms of knowledge, skills, and understanding that the learner may use or apply in later situations and under conditions different from those of instruction. Now, I give you half a minute to kindly read this definition carefully. Yes. If you focus on the last 3 lines, we say the student have learned a thing when he is able to use or apply that knowledge, skill, and understanding in later situations and under conditions different from those of instruction. We cannot say that the student have learned the topic or whatever we want him to learn unless and until he is able to apply that knowledge, skill, and understanding in situations under conditions different from those of instruction. Now, I go to classroom, I teach the student, and I assume the student have learned, and I try to evaluate. Now, my student evaluation should be based on what? It should be based on whether the students are able to now apply that knowledge and skills, number one. Number two, are they able to apply that knowledge and skills in situations and under conditions different from classroom instructions, my dear friends. Usually we say that जो हमने class में पढ़ाया उसी का exam ले लिया. Whatever we have taught in the class, let us take exam out of that. And if we ask little beyond what has been instructed in the class, the students normally complain that it is out of syllabus. Isn't it so? But my dear friends, the definition of the learning and what is the purpose of evaluation? There can be many purposes. The purpose of evaluation is to ensure that whatever you have taught to the student, they have learned. And how do you ensure that? To ensure that by testing whether they are able to apply that knowledge, skills, and understanding in situations different from that of instruction. So you keep in mind that you do not ask the same question which you have taught in the classroom. Whatever input the application part is the most important thing, especially at the adult education level. The students coming to you are already 17 or 18 years old students. Are you with me on this? With me? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There are 7 good principles in education. I will very quickly go through these principles. Number 1 is maximize student-faculty contact. Maximize the student-faculty contact. Number 1. Number 2, develop student cooperation. Let there be an environment where students are collaborating with each other for the learning purposes. I mean, the group learning. It has been established worldwide that pairing the students or in the groups, if the students are learning, the learning takes place in a much efficient way. Then the use active learning techniques. I am not going to give a lecture on this, but there are techniques available. Active learning. The student have to be active because the learning has to take place not in the teachers. Usually in the classroom, teacher is very active. I am giving, I am speaking, I am writing on the blackboard, I am doing this, that. The students are passively receiving everything. But the learning has to take place not with the teachers. Of course, teachers will learn in the process also. But our purpose is the student must learn. He has to be active. So make the student active. That's what I am trying to do in this class also. I'm trying to make all of you active. I'm trying to generate some kind of emotion in the class so that you are able to think. You are able to give me your point of view. You have to be active. Then give feedback promptly. Whenever a student, whether it's a knowledge or a skill or any aspect of attitude, give the feedback immediately. Give the feedback without having offend. I mean, we do not grade the student. Ki, okay, your answer is good or bad. We simply say okay. If it is the right answer, then also we say okay. If it is the wrong answer, you just say okay, okay, and then you can give him feedback. The right answer is so and so. Okay, but if you will condemn the student in the classroom, he will shirk from giving you the answer. The students in the classrooms are normally very, very docile. So say just okay and give them the right feedback and correct answer. The fifth principle says emphasis time on task. Emphasis time. Whenever you give him a task, give a schedule. So and so task has to be given. So and so answer has to be given. So and assignment, whatever things you give, time is very important. Then communicate high expectations. What is you're expecting from the lecture, from the things? Keep your expectation little high. Let the student have a higher expectation in each lecture which you deliver in the classroom. Then respect learners' diversity. My dear friend, this is very important point here. Learners' diversity. Respect learners' diversity. Each learner is unique. A learner, you have a class of 50 students or 60 students or 20 students, whatever the size class, each learner is unique. Some learners are fast, some learners are slow. Some learners are able to learn by just listening. Some learners are going to their hostels back or their homes and they like to read and then they learn. Every learner is unique. You must respect each learner's diversity, his or her individual attitude and way of learning. So these are the 7 principles you have to keep in mind. Now, my dear friends, I like to change my subject to another very important aspect of curriculum implementation. That is education and training. We are in the process of, in the business of teaching and learning. We are also in the business of educating and training the students. Isn't so? So these are the pictures which also depict education and training. Now, my dear friends, I would like to again throw the house open for the discussion. We have earlier talked about that, definition of education, but here I'm talking about definition of education or your concept of education as it is different from training. What is education and what is training? So I am now going to ask you a question. What is education? Yes. Think about it. What is education? And then my next question is going to be, what is training?
They have to learn something about us. It's a education. Something he know, that is education, in a proper way.
And what is training?
Training is how to implement in a theoretical path in a practical way. It is training.
Okay. Somebody else would like to say, what is education? Focus on the word education first.
Education is, as we already discussed, through classroom teaching, removing the ignorance of the students, and training is making the students that is making the students to learn a particular thing, how to do a particular thing again and again.
I'm very happy with your reply. I would like to have a very crystal clear understanding about these two terms, education and training. My first definition, when in the beginning of my lecture, I said education. That was a broad definition, concept of education, which covers both education and training. Now I am talking about the word education. Now focus on this definition. These two or three points, try to understand it very well. In education, when we talk about the word education, the procedures which are learned by the student tend to be generalized and can be transferred to other situations. It is not for a specific situation that we are educating a student. That procedures, but whatever I'm going to teach, they can be applied. It has the application vast majority of the cases. I mean, in a variety of cases, the procedures can be applied. So when we are doing that, that is the education. Number two, the results of instruction may vary. The results of instruction may vary in education. The third very important line is there is an emphasis on why something is done. When we are talking, when we're in the classroom, we talk about why is this so and so is happening, why is so and so is happening, why we have to multiply, why we have to do this thing, why we have to integrate. Why, in the classroom, indirectly, we are answering the question why. As many times you answer the question why, you are trying to educate the students. So this is a golden principle to learn the concept of education is when the emphasis is on why. And what is training now? Let us look at this. The instruction is designed to help people perform specific tasks. In the education, the procedures were to be applied in number of situations. Now, in the training, for a specific task, we train a student. Okay, number one. The result of instruction is consistent. Every time, the student will be performing the same thing, whether it's a physical or a mental exercise. It can be mental. Ma'am, let me correct you. The training can be mental. It can be physical also, practical as well as theory. When we talk about the instruction, the result of instruction is consistent. Every time you multiply so and so, the answer is same. You are not doing anything physical, but it's a mental exercise. Similarly, if I am driving, every time I am changing the gear, I'm pressing the clutch and then applying the race and releasing the clutch. So every time, consistently, I am trained. My body is trained to perform the task in a very same way. Okay, I do not vary it. Okay, aisa kar lenge. This exercise cannot be applied to in the swimming. Let us see, if I am swimming, my skills in the car driving are different than the skills I require to swim. So the results of the instruction is not consistent. It varies. Number three, the most important line is the procedures of instructions are about how to do something. In the previous case, it was why. When you in the classroom talk about how it has to be done, you are trying to train the students. With me? The difference is between why and how. I hope you understand this now. Okay, I was saying the difference between education and training. Focus on the third point. The difference is when you answer the question in the classroom on why, you are educating. When you are answering the question how, you are training. Now, my dear friends, when for effective curriculum implementation, when you go to the classroom, try to identify the topic which you are going to deliver in the classroom. How many whys are there and how many hows are there? What are the whys and what are the hows of the topic? And underline them. And you must deliver why and you must deliver how. And you must check, evaluate the student whether they are able to understand why and whether they are able to apply or use those whys to hows. I hope I am able to, you are able to understand me what I am trying to say. If you will do this little analysis in the classroom, your instructional delivery and your evaluation will improve in the class. Now, going to the instructional strategy part, there are 4 terms here: instructional strategies, instructional methods, instructional tactics, and instructional media. Strategies, methods, tactics, and media. And what are the instructional strategies? Strategies are the general viewpoints and line of action that one adopts in order to choose the teaching methods. The teaching methods can be your lecture method, it can be your laboratory method, it can be your group discussion method, it can be a role play method. There is a general viewpoint or line of action you want to adopt to choose a particular method is your strategy. We will come down to that a little later, but try to understand the concept only. Teaching method is a generic term used to mean ways of doing something, how you want to execute that strategy. That is your method, teaching method. There are certain recognized methods like lecture method, discussion method, tutorial method, practical demonstration method. These are the methods. Then the tactics are, in each method, how effectively you can execute that method is your tact. The word tactics has come from the word tact. How good you are in making a particular method more efficient so that the learning should take place. That is your tactics. Now, look at this picture. On the x-axis, you see time. Usually you have 60 minutes. You have, 0 to 10 minutes, then 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, then 60. Usually classes of 60 minutes. I'm talking about a theory class. Okay? When you are mostly focusing on why and some portions of how also in the classroom. And on the y-axis, there is a rate of learning. On the x-axis, as the time passes, the rate of learning. Initially, when you enter in the class, the students are highly motivated, you are also full of energy. So the energy level, the rate of learning is A, at level A. And as you develop on the subject, it goes to level B. The students are very happy in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And at the level C, there is a peak. About 15 to 20 minutes time, you are at the peak of your lecture. Try to understand this very well. After the peak, your own energy level, I'm not generalizing it. Some of you may be maintaining the energy up to the last 60th minute also. And the energy level of student definitely goes down. Whatever you are teaching, your teaching may be very effective. Your strategies, your methods, your tactics may be very good. But still, there can be lag. And the learning in the students start declining. If you see that curve here again, ma'am, we focus on the curve only. That the curve goes down like this. And at the time of 35 minutes or so, the students start crying. Ab ye professor sab band kab karenge? When he's going to stop talking to us? They are virtually looking for the closer. Their attention is towards something else than what you are teaching. Then at the 60th minute, they are on the breaking point. Almost no learning is taking place at that time. Now, my dear friends, I'm talking about instructional media now. The role of the media is to keep the morale of the student high, your own energy level high. We want that at this point, the curve should not down, the curve should remain at this level, and it should go like this. The learning should continue. Now, for that to happen, your teaching strategies, your teaching method, your teaching text, especially the media which you use, is the most important. Now, this is very important in effective curriculum implementation, my dear friends. Now, instructional media, any person, material or event that establishes conditions which enable a learner to acquire knowledge, skill or attitude is a media. Sometimes you are a media. If I am talking to you, I am a media. You may take the help of the PowerPoint, that becomes a media. You may take the help of the blackboard, that is also a media. Whatever person, material and event or activities you establish, the condition where the learning is taking place is your media. And media plays a very important role, my dear friends. I will tell you, media, a physical means of communication, that is print or graphic or photograph, electronic, mechanical. This helps the curve to remain up. If you are changing the stimulus which enables the student to learn, then the learning curve, jo down aa rahi hai, with the passage of time, will remain up. You have to change the stimulus. By the same stimulus, if you will keep on teaching a student in the same pace and this thing, there is every likelihood that the learning curve will come down. I would like to have a focus on this slide. This is a journal accepted phenomena. This may vary from situation to situation and from topic to topic. We generally learn 1% from taste. If there is a 100% of learning, generally 1% your taste, I'm talking about the senses, 1.5% through touch, 3.5% through smell, 11% through hearing. It may vary from individual, of course, and situation also, but generally 83% through sight. Imagine what we do in the classroom. We speak and speak. And how much learning we are trying to achieve through that? Only 11%. If you want your learning to enhance, you have to give them the visual in the form of maybe the blackboard or maybe charts, maybe PowerPoints, maybe anything. That stimulus has to be sight. When the students learn through their eyes, their sight, that is 83%. Or you can have a combination of all these things. In the laboratory, we say, आप इस इंस्ट्रूमेंट को टच करके देखिए, इस इंस्ट्रूमेंट को आप स्मेल करके देखिए, इसको ऐसे करके देखिए. You know, all these things are very important in learning. To enhance the learning, we have to use all of them. My dear friends, now let me go to the further, on this topic. There are different strategies available with the teachers. I would now like to throw the house open for discussion. What are the strategies available with the teacher? What are the strategies available with the teacher? You have certain content. You have to now choose how I am going to impart this content, impart instructions to cover these contents so that the learning is maximum. What are the strategies available with you? Now, I want to listen from you. Yes? What are the strategies? I am not talking about methods. I am not talking about tactics. I am not talking about the media. I am talking about the broad approach adopting to impart the instructions to the students so that the learning is maximum. Our curriculum is implemented effectively. So what are the strategies available to you? Yes. Yes. I am waiting for your answers.
Sir?
Yes, ma'am. Mic, please. Mic from niche. Yes.
Sir, through hands-on method, learn something about more.
Say again, ma'am.
Sir, hands meaning like that, they learn more, sir.
Somebody else? Somebody else from the participants? What strategies are available with the teachers so that the learning is maximum? I'm talking about teaching strategies now. Yes?
Through group discussions between the students.
I'm not able to listen to you clearly, sir. Say again.
Through group discussions between the students. They combined study.
Okay. Friends, to save the time, let me say, try to understand this concept very well. This makes a hell lot of a difference how you are going to approach the students so that the learning is maximum. There are basically two strategies available with the teachers. Two strategies only. Number one strategy is receptive learning. Number two strategy is discovery learning. Either you are using the receptive learning strategy or you are going to use discovery learning strategy. There are no other two strategies. There are only these two strategies. Receptive learning strategies or discovery learning studies. Let me give you a little bit details about this. Receptive learning means rote. It can be rote learning or it can be meaningful. It can be rote means memory based. It can be very meaningful, understanding based. Receptive learning, the entire content, whatever you want to teach or whatever has to be learned by the student, the entire content is presented to the student in a final form. The student receives the content from the teachers in its final form. You know, you have some formula, you have learned a formula in the classroom, you just throw it to the student in the final form. Or anything you want to teach the student. The students are receptive. They are only receiving what the final learning has to be taken place. Okay. Now, the discovery learning, the principal content of what has to be learned, what you are expecting the student to learn, is not given. You are not teaching them. You know the formula, you know the principles, you know the concepts, you know the procedure, but you are not giving them to the student. But must be discovered by the learner. You create situations in the classroom and give them, facilitate them to learn by themselves. Now the students are more active. In the previous case, in the receptive learning, you are active. The student was receiving it passively. Now in this case, in the discovery learning, you are playing your role as a facilitator in the background. You are trying to create certain situations when the students have to discover the answers themselves. They have to find the contents themselves. You are facilitating them. You say, refer to so and so, go to so and so library, and usually we find in the conventional engineering colleges the libraries are hardly visited by the student, and in the good institutions like IITs, IIMs, or in the NITs, I find the libraries are always full. There are strikes not for the out of syllabus things, but there are strikes for the students. Sir, हमारे को library whole night खोलनी चाहिए. In the daytime also the libraries are I hardly find anybody occupying the library, but in good institutions this is a difference, because the difference is the strategy adopted by in those institutions is the students are forced to go and discover the contents themselves. The teachers facilitate in the classroom, contact hours are minimum, and the teachers say that this is the basic things. Now I want you to do this thing. Now, when I said that the teaching learning process, in the teaching, you are facilitating the learning are taking place. The learning has to take in the student. If the students are passive, the learning will be less. It has been universally accepted phenomena that for learning to take place effectively, the students have to be active. And they can be active when you go for the discovery learning strategies. Try to make experiments in your classroom situations also, in your laboratories, in your workshops. Make the student more active. If you just demonstrate and the student just copy, if you just put the notes on the blackboard or dictator in the classroom, they are just copying, they are only receiving and noting it down. There is a very small element of learning taking place. So this is a very important point which I like to bring. Now, I also want to give you some rules by which you can assist the memory of knowledge. I'm talking about the knowledge, not skills and attitude, but knowledge. These are the rules which can be followed to enhance the memory of the student, what they learn, so that they remain in the long-term memory. Number one is known to unknown. Explain them things which they know and slowly take them to the level which they do not know. Known to unknown. Concrete to abstract. Concrete concept which they know, which they appreciate or they understand very well, and slowly take them to those concepts which are abstract for the students. Then observation to reasoning. Let them observe, find out the reasons they have, and then you give them the reasons. observation to reasoning, simple to complex. Give them simple things and slowly take them to complex things. This will help them in increasing their memory of knowledge learning. Then what happens first to what happens next? Draw a clear line of action, or I would say, what do you call a sequencing of your presentation in the classroom. What happens first to that, what happens next. Slowly and slowly built upon your subject. And then the last one is whole view within the overall perspective, and to the part view, go to the parts, explain those things, and then back to the whole view again. This is a very important principle. But whole view, then to the part view, and back to the whole view. So you give them the whole picture. This is the car. Then you go to the, this is a gear, this is this is this. Then totally, when you have understood each and every part of the car, and you can say, now this is a car. Okay, this is how. Now, my dear friends, I like to come to the subject of some more concepts of student evaluation. I will, to save the time, let me go to the, the most important things first of all. Because time is running out. I will like to focus on very important things here. Only, yeah. I like to come to this slide. When it comes to, student evaluation, there are three important and essential qualities of the characteristics of a test. When you execute a test for evaluating a student, there are three important essential qualities characterized by it. What are those three important things? Number one is, your test should be reliable, reliability test. A test which you are executing, paper you are executing, it should be reliable. Number two important aspect is, it should be valid. It should not be only reliable, but the test should be valid. Number three is, you have to also see a practicality. For effective curriculum, for effective student evaluation, these are the three essential quality characteristics of each test: reliability, validity, and practicality. I will try to explain these concepts to all of you. First of all, I like to know from you, have you heard these terms, reliability, validity, and practicality, as applied to student evaluation, a test to execute in the classroom? Yes. Anyone? What is reliability? We evaluate the student through tests. Now you execute a test in the classroom. Maybe the midterm test, maybe the final test. What is the reliability of the test or validity of the test? How they are different, reliability and validity. Yes, any one of you? Have you heard these terms?
Sir,
Yes.
once a big
आवाज कट रही है, दूसरा माइक यूज कर लीजिए. टू माइक्स ना, जब मैम बोल रही हैं तो ठीक आ रही है आवाज, आप थोड़ा सामने आ जाइए. कम इन द फ्रंट, come closer to the system. Have you heard these terms, reliability, validity, and practicality? Anyone of you want to know what is reliability, what is validity, and what is practicality? Yes. Please come near the system. जो आपका system है वहां पे रखा हुआ. Please come nearer that. आपका external mic is echoing a lot. It is giving echo, sound echo. When ma'am is speaking and the gentleman in the front is also speaking, I am able to listen very clearly. आपका mic off है sir, बोलिए. On करिए mic को, then you speak please. Yes. Then please let me know if you do not know that. Let me know. I can go ahead with the topic. Are you able to listen to me?
No.
Kindly respond to my.
Listen, sir.
Are you got- Kindly answer my question. Are you able to listen to me?
So, audio quality is poor.
When ma'am was talking to me a few minutes back, when you were talking to me, I was listening very clearly, but now I'm not able to listen to you. Please change your seat. Sir, आप अपनी सीट को नेक्स्ट सीट पे आ जाइए, then you speak, आराम से बात करिए. Please relax yourself and talk to me clearly. Are you able to listen to me? Please listen. Hello? Hello? आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है? Are you able to?
So, still voice is being.
If you are not able to listen to me, then why? I mean, if I answer your question, you will not be able to understand. I want you to know. I want to know that whether you are able to listen to me. Mic in the first row. Please give that mic to the first row people, and let me know that whether you are able to listen to me or not. Yes or no? Are you listening?
Listening.
Some problem with your internet?
அவங்க லிசனிங் பண்ணனும் கேக்குறாங்க அது டவுன்லோட்.
Okay, you are listening now. I will go ahead then. Reliability. Let me give you definition of reliability, my dear friends. Slide. Reliability is a coefficient for a set of scores. The coefficient for a set of scores, a group of examinees, is a coefficient of correlation between that set of scores and another set of scores on an equivalent test. For example, now let me explain it to you. You execute a test today from a topic or from a subject. आपने कुछ topics cover करे, and then you are taking a test to student. Now from the same topics, you give another test, which is an equivalent test from the same topics, and then you try to find a correlation between the scores obtained by the students. That is your coefficient of correlation. This will, if there is a lot of difference, let us say if I give a test, A test, and then I give a B test from the same contents, if there is a lot of difference, it means my test is not reliable. Are you with me now on this? Are you understanding? Or maybe you take a test today and you give another test after 15 days, the same test. If there is a lot of variation between the attempt, between the scores of the student, then also you can say your test was not reliable. Or A teacher prepare a test from the same content, B teacher prepare a test. If there is a lot of difference between the scores, then also we can say that the test is not reliable. It has to be reliable, my dear friends. Like I give always example. If I ask you to measure the length of this room, and I give you a scale, a foot rule of 12 inches, and I ask you to measure the length. When you are measuring the length, whether A person is measuring, or B person is measuring, or C person is measuring, every time the result should be consistent. It should be same. Whether you measure it today, whether you measure it tomorrow, whether you measure it after 1 year, the dimension, which the result should be same. So you can say my test is, my measurements are, my assessment is accurate. It is reliable. You can rely on that condition. Now, reliability is a term used to describe one of the most significant properties of a set of test scores. We are talking about the scores, not the test, but the scores obtained by the student on a test. how consistent or error-free the measurements are. If I am measuring, if somebody else is measuring using the same scale, if there is a difference between the measurement, it means my measuring is not accurate. It has to be accurate. Low reliability indicates unhealthy testing situations, and problem can be with the test, characteristics of the examinee, testing conditions, or combination of these. I will, shift some of these slides and go to the now next important aspect of, student evaluation is validity. Now, one thing is your test had to be reliable. Another important condition, as I mentioned, there are three things: reliability, validity, and practicality. Another important condition is validity. Your test has to be valid. Now, validity is a degree to which a test is capable of achieving certain aims, what it wants to achieve. That is, whether the test is measuring what we want to measure. But the test is measuring what we want to measure. There are certain learning outcomes which we want to measure, whether students have been able to achieve those learning outcomes or no. Your test should be such that it measures exactly those learning outcomes which you want to measure. If you are not measuring that, then your test is not valid. Now let me go to the same example again. You have a room, length of the room you have to measure. Now, if I give you a wrong foot scale, instead of, let us say, 12 inches, it is 11.5. 11.5 inches, and I ask you to measure the room. Now, what will happen? You may be you may be measuring it very nicely, but your actual result is not valid because the very scale, the tool which you have used is wrong. Now, this is exactly what happens in the classroom. You may be reliable in your testing, but your test may be not measuring what it's supposed to measure. So, my dear friends, focus on the action verbs which are used in framing the test items to be properly used to measure the depth of the knowledge which you want to measure in the student. For example, if I say at the end of my subject, the student should be able to give treatment to the fluorides in a water sample. Let us say if there is a water, there is a fluorides beyond or below. It can be either beyond or it can be below the level which is acceptable for drinking purpose. And my purpose of instruction is the student should be able to test whether the fluoride content in that water sample is all right or no. And they should also be able to give a treatment. If it is low, below the level, or if it is above the level, they should be also able to give a treatment to it. This is my learning objective. The student should be able to test and treat the water for the fluoride contents in the water. If this is my learning outcome, my question, the test item I am asking, should very clearly define what learning outcome I am measuring in the testing in the student. If they are not able to do that, I say learning has not taken place. Whatever I may do, the learning has to come. My test has to be valid. And every time, whether I am testing them today, whether I am testing them after 50 days, whether I am testing or somebody else is testing, everyone should say that now the students are able to test the water and they are able to treat the water. There is a difference between them, reliability is at stake. If the test is not proper, I am asking some other question. I am asking about the fluoride content, mein ye hai, wo hai, so many other questions, but I am not specifically asking them to test. Give me the readings that how much fluorides are there in a sample of water, and also the treatment which you would like to use. So my dear friends, testing, the reliability and validity are the most important thing. I am not going in the details of reliability and validity, the whole class for that. The 1 week course we normally do on reliability and validity, how to make the test more reliable and valid. But I'm saying, giving you the hint, if you increase the number of test items and use proper action verbs, your test is going to be reliable and valid. Now, if you use the scale which is properly calibrated, your readings cannot go wrong for measuring the length of the room. All right, the foot scale. Now, the practicality, the third important aspect I said was practicality. Practically means once your test is reliable and valid, then you have to see that whether it is practicality of executing the test is proper or no. For example, length of the test should be such that the majority of students are able to complete within the time frame. If you are giving that as 2 hours or 2.5 hours or 3 hours, majority of the students should be able to solve the question practically. You have to see that they are able to solve. So this is a practical aspect. Then you have to see the background or the characteristics of the students. The language used should match with the background of the student. Many times we ask the question in a language which the student are not able to understand it even. They know the answer, but they do not know what you are trying to ask because of the background, because of the language problem of the student. So that is very important. Then the condition of test. If there is a darkness in the room, or there is a lot of sound, temperature, if there's a very high temperature, people are sweating, or it's too cold, all those things are the conditions, the physical conditions in the classroom when your testing has to be kept in mind. My dear friends, I will not like to go further on my topic. I would like to simply ask you one question now before I, close my session here. I would like to ask a question. You have been testing student by using the objective testing and subjective testing. What is the difference between objective testing and subjective testing? And my dear friends, there is a complete class on a table of specification. If you want, I can give you detailed handouts for that. For making the test more reliable and valid, table of specifications have been prepared by each teacher, each examiner who is framing the question paper. Now, coming to the question of objective test and subjective test. What is the difference between objective test and subjective test? What is the objective test first? Okay, this test is objective test. This is subjective test. Yes. Anybody in the class, ma'am? Dr. T. Kanimozi? I want your attention and I want response from your students, participants. What is objective test and what is subjective test?
So objective test is questions with multiple choices, which is used to test the better knowledge of the students. Subjective test is nothing to write in of paragraph.
Okay, somebody else from the ladies' side. Some from the ladies' side. Somebody will like to say what is subjective test and what is the objective test. Yes.
So, audible to us.
Listen to me. अच्छा. Oh, okay. तो हमारी आवाज आ रही है उनको देखें. Okay. My dear friends, let me clarify one thing. When we say objective test, it is not the test. I tell you, try to understand the concept very clearly. In objective testing, the performance of the student is not subject to the evaluator. Whosoever is checking the question paper the result will be same. So much so, even if the machines are checking, for example, in OMR, in the objective testing, we have OMR machine. You have multiple choice questions. The machine will say, you circle it and then you darken the circle. You put the answer sheet in a machine. It will say so and so score. And if the manually, some teachers are checking the question paper, each time there is only one unique answer to each question, and there are no doubts about it, that there is whether this question or that answer or this answer. Every time the answer is a unique answer, and that uniqueness is answer is objectively test evaluated by the person who is going to evaluate the test of the students. So, but in subjective test, the performance of the student is subject to, will depend on who is evaluating his answer sheet. Let us say if there is an answer sheet, I give to A teacher. He assigns, let us say, 50 marks out of 100. Same answer, I ask B teacher. He may give 60 marks. C teacher may give 55 marks. So what does it mean? Answer is same. The score obtained by the student, the performance of the student is subject to not what he has written, but it is subject to who is evaluating the student. So that is the subjective testing. Now, subjective testing can be very dangerous. We are not evaluating the student, but it is subject to the teachers who evaluate. But the purpose of student evaluation is to see how much or how well the student have learned the subject. We are not testing the teacher who is evaluating. We are testing the student level of student testing. Now, but why should we then go for the subjective testing at all? The reason is that there is a limitation of the objective testing. Although the objective tests are highly reliable and validate and practically can be very easily executed, but then there are certain limitations. The higher level of learning beyond application level, application and beyond application level, there are different levels. You are having knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Bloom's taxonomy is very clear of the levels. Whether student is at this level, this level, this level. At the beginning level, you are having just the knowledge of the facts and all, then comprehension, understanding, then application, then analysis, then synthesis, then evaluation. So, the lower levels of cognitive domain, the lower levels of your knowledge can be very easily tested through objective testing. When it comes to synthesis, designing a thing, it cannot be done through objective testing. You cannot ask the student, let us say if I ask the student to design a beam under certain load conditions, can we have objective testing on that? Absolutely not. Similarly, there are many situations in the life which cannot be tested through multiple type of questions. We have to go for the subjective testing. But in order to ensure that the subjective testing is not subject to the teachers, you have to increase the reliability and validity. And there are ways for that. Table of specification is one of the ways by which you can increase the reliability and validity of the test items. I like to close my session here, my dear friends. I have talked about in details about the instructional strategies. I have also talked about the 3 important aspects of student evaluation. If there are any questions in that, okay. चलिए फिर इसको बंद करो.